Now we are coming to China, the very hot topic of the day, and I think it will be the hot topic of the future too. So our next speaker is Mr. Su Changyong from the China Iron Steel Association. Please, Mr. Su.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to attend this conference, and it's my great honor for SteelOrbis to invite me. Actually, I would rather say that my presentation has been covered maybe 90% by the morning speakers. But anyway, I'm here to try to repeat all the slides. So before we have the slides, yeah, I pushed it. So I'll say something about CISA. I mean, CISA is the only national organization for the steel industry. We have over 300 members, out of which 87 steel producing members. Our member companies produce around 80% of the national total crude steel production. For those who may not know too much about CISA, CISA we have around 80 permanent staff. So anyway, my presentation will be 2 parts. Come. I will not make no forecast, but report only the facts. The first part is some updates on the production or performance figures of the steel industry up until September, the first 3 months, first 3 quarters. The second part is some outlook in general for the steel industry in the coming years, maybe by 2020. So first of all, I cannot avoid the topic of steel production. For the first 3 quarters, the crude steel production, it's already known by most of you, is 67.54 million metric tons. It stays flat compared with last year, while the daily production is around 2.25 million metric tons. It's about 1.3% increase. That's for September. For the first 9 months, the crude steel production is 618 million metric tons. It's up about 2.3%, while the average daily production is 2.26 million metric tons. Based on this, the annualized total will be over 820 million tons. But I have to say that according to the figures we just got in October, for over 2 years, we first saw there's a decrease, there's a drop over crude steel production. So we accordingly will expect the national total crude steel production this year will be less than 820 million tons. In other words, something around 1.6% increase over last year. This morning, yes, finally comes. There's many speakers mentioned about this, despite of the steel production growth, the apparent steel consumption stays stagnant. Actually, in September, ACSC is down by more than 4% year on year, or the first 9 months is about 560 million metric tons, down by 0.69%. I have to note in the meantime there's destocking activities all the year long. So if we take into account the destocking sectors, the ACSC, the apparent steel consumption, is basically flat compared with last year. So, I don't want to touch, but I have to mention about steel import and export. Anyway, that's is public figures, which all you know. In September, the finished steel export is import is 1.36 million metric tons. It's like quite decent increase, around 16% month-on-month. For the first 9 months, the steel export increased by 5%. So anyway, that's we export a lot, but the doors are open. We also welcome foreign steel into China. In September, the finished steel export increased by 9.8%. For the first 9 months, the finished steel export increased, of course, quite swiftly by around 40% to 65.34 million metric tons. We also have what we call a net steel export. In crude steel equivalent, it was 57.8 million metric tons for the first 3 quarters, up by 19 million metric tons. For steel imports into China, the origins are quite concentrated, while the steel export for China is quite diverted, scattered. For the first 3 quarters, for imports, the main origins are Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan. These 3 in total accounting for over 90% of the total import. While for the exports, the main destinations include ASEAN countries, Korea, and the Middle East. These 3 destinations accounting for over 54% of the total. While this year, there's the steel exports to the US, to China, Taiwan, and EU represents the fastest growing areas. We have to also talk about the steel price because all you know that the profit rate of the Chinese steel industry is very low, below 1% for this year. It's mainly due to, that's the weak steel market, the steel price. At the end of September, that's CSPI is the CISA steel price index was about 86 points. It's down by 4.65 points month-on-month, or 14.22 points compared to last year. The index has been below 100 points since last October. And today, September, October, November is still at the lowest level since 2003. The average finished steel price for September dropped by 108 yuan RMB. It's like a 3.5% decrease month-on-month, or 314 yuan RMB, or over 9% year-on-year basis. With this weak price, despite of this, the also very weak raw material prices, the Chinese steel industry has been struggling to break even. In 2012, really that's loss for the whole industry. And last year they will have some profit. This year actually we have increase of profit. For the first 9 months, the key steel enterprises, I just not mention that within CISA's 300 members, we have 87 steel producing members. And out of these, we have around 92 steel-making companies and several who don't have steel-making but processing companies, what we call the key steel enterprises. The sales revenue for the first 9 months is 2.7 trillion yuan, down a little bit by 0.22% year-on-year, while the profits is more than 19 billion yuan. This is a great increase. So that's the profit rate is very low, 0.71%. But we are happy that's for many months that's the core steel business actually that's losing money. We are making money from the non-business sectors. But for this year, the first 3 quarters, the core business, steel business are making money. Regarding that, the steel raw materials prices, for this year, that's most of the months we saw a decrease. For the imported iron ore price, it's been around $80 for September. And today, that's it's a little bit less than $70. I noticed before I left China, it's like something like $69 per ton, CFR China main port. Iron ore futures, I want to mention this because today the iron ore futures floated in Dalian Commodity Exchange. They're doing pretty good, and steel futures are becoming a very important how to say that's indicator or signal of future iron ore price change due to its large transaction volumes. According to my knowledge, there's for the first year of the iron ore futures coming into existence, the daily transaction volume is around 25 million tons. If we see the $100 per ton of iron ore, this it's quite big value. This futures price in early October, it picked up a little bit, but dipped again in late October. What we call that the standard contract 1501, the settlement price on October 22 was 576 yuan. But this month is dipped again, that's to something like 2 days ago to 466 yuan, Chinese yuan per ton. Due to this weak performance of the steel industry, we also rationally to see this the lower reading and also the real steel fixed asset investment. For the steel industry, the FAI for the first 3 quarters is 399, basically 400 billion yuan. It's down by 4.35% year on year. When I see the steel industry FAI, we doesn't include that for foundry. We doesn't include that for ferroalloy. So that you cannot just adding together these figures. For the ferro smelting and processing, what we mean is like the iron making, steel making, and steel processing. The total investment is 360 billion yuan, down also by 5% year on year. For the mining, that's the only sector in the steel business which recorded again an increase of 6.6% year on year. For the new products, capital investment is around 60 billion yuan. It's also down by 15%. We also have to note that out of the total FAI for the steel industry, that for iron making dropped in October by over a quarter, over 25%, and that for steel making down by more than 13%. So that's I'm not so pessimistic as the speakers in the morning. When the market changed, the industrial investment or the steel company operation will finally follow. Let's talk a little bit about the performance of the main steel consuming sectors. In China, maybe more than, according to the figures, it's more than 50% or 55% of the steel goes to construction. That's real estate is a main part of it. But in general speaking, that's speaking on the total investment is still going up, but in a slower rate. for this land purchase for area in construction or newly started area or construction or land purchases, it's almost all reported slowdown or even minus growth. And we don't expect the real estate sector will pick up in the coming months or even the whole year next year. For automotive production, we still see positive growth. For the total industry is like a 4.2% increase. For passenger car, it's 9.4%, but the commercial vehicles, there's like a 20% decrease. It looks positive, but compared with the last 2 years, 2012, 2013, the growth rate actually is quite low. We will see it's not very much contributing to the steel use volume. For machine building, it's quite mixed picture. It's quite divided. For some subsectors, it's growing, but the general picture is like it's a weak market. The general market of the home appliances is weak, partly due to the subdued real estate market. Shipbuilding is something like a bright star. We do see some increase, and also in October we saw that shipbuilding flats or place are having the highest increase rate. This is the home appliances industry. We saw there's refrigerator, there's very small growth. Air conditioner, there's a quite decent increase. But home washing machine, freezers reported it's a minus increase. So I have like a short range outlook for this year. The GDP growth rate dropped to 7.3% in the third quarter, hitting a 6-year low. We'll not see rebound in the fourth quarter, and we do expect it will be even lower, maybe not much, 2015. The crude steel daily production growing in September, I just mentioned this. It has a 0.3% decrease in October, which is a good news maybe for you and for me. In November, due to the APEC meetings, we also witnessed a bigger decrease from most of the steel mills around Beijing than expected. So in November, we do believe we'll have another maybe minus increase in steel production. And as I mentioned at the beginning, that's the whole year steel production will be below 820 million metric tons. Other than this, instead of the expectation we did in the early part of this year, over 820 million tons. Apparent steel consumption, as I mentioned just now, for the weak performance of the main steel unit sectors, will basically remain flat. For steel export, in September it's picked up a little bit, and in October, it set another record of 8.55 million metric tons. So definitely this year, the total export will be over 80 million tons. I don't know whether we can reach 85 million tons, as mentioned by a speaker this morning. Iron ore price will remain on the downward track. The core prices may stabilize and rebound slightly. Finished steel price, due to the pressed steel market, will remain weak. Yeah, before I go into touch the outlook for the Chinese steel industry, let's look at the Chinese economy in general. This morning, the lady from Admir also mentioned the new normals. When we speak of the new normals, we have several characteristics. One is the slowing down of the GDP growth. This chart actually is a chart I borrowed from one of the very famous think tank in China, Development Research Center of China. We expect that in the coming years, when we really come to the new normal, stabilize in the new normal, the growth rate of GDP will be 2 to 3 percentage points lower than the last 10 years, which means maybe between 6 and 7%. If we look at the GDP growth this year and from 2009, we can see it stabilized to something around 7.7%. That's when we're speaking that's the new normals. We always see that China's economy is still finding the bottom. Today, we have something 7.3, 7.4%, but it's not the bottom. It should be below 7. If we say 7 is something around the normal. In this new normal period, we'll have a lot of pressure in the perspective of steel mills. That's in operation due to weak steel prices and weak economic efficiency. As a result of excessive capacity oversupply, we'll have pressure from hiking financial costs. We have iron ore supply pressure also. It's a little bit like a paradox today. We expect iron ore price to be lower before, but today when the iron ore price really dipping day by day, that's not all the steel mills are happy because many of them, they have captive mines. When the iron price is high, they have an advantage, but today they are losing their advantage. We also have pressure on rising environmental protection, partly due to that lack of investment in the past. We also have pressure on rising VAT and pressure in steel exports, as you mentioned, that's due to the rising trade frictions. And also export policy adjustments, though there's rumors that the tax rebate rate will be terminated, but there's no solid news on that. As an insider of the Chinese steel enterprises, we're quite optimistic in dealing with the challenges today. As a thing that when there's will, there's a way. Of course, that's the opportunity is not in quantity growth or production growth, rather in the other aspects like restructuring and upgrading, also opportunities in reform and innovation, in demand structure change. Maybe they're demanding more like high-end products instead of the commercial qualities. A new opportunity in green steel developments. Finally, let me conclude with a quotation from the Chinese vision of steel industry in 2020. That's by 2020, we expect China will become a strong, instead of only a big steel producing country, with the steel industry becoming resource-saving, environmental friendly, sustainable, innovative, profitable, and globally competitive. Having said that, thank you very much for your attention.
Any questions for Mr. Su? We have one question.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. The agreement between Obama and your leader on the emissions, is there any actual concrete reduction in emissions you think, and is there going to be a chance for there to be a decrease in production? On another note, do you think the Chinese government will actually let scrap be exported even if there's a surplus? I've heard different opinions on that. And the next thing is on the currency. Do you think that there's going to be any change in the Chinese currency policy?
Yeah, today actually that's emission control is maybe one of the biggest headache for the Chinese steel mills. As you know, that's from January 1, 2015, that we will implement the new environmental protection law which is the most strict in the Chinese history. But how much it will affect the performance of the steel production in China, we have to wait and see. I mean, when that's low, but it's one thing, but the reinforcement is more important before we see the real results. I don't know, but anyway, today there's emission control is the biggest issue for most steel mills. They investing a lot of money on that, try to meet the threshold of the new law. What was your second question? Yeah, the scrap. That's this morning, that's Ms. Plummer that's mentioned about this. He is more positive or optimistic than me. That's forecasting that the Chinese steel production will keep increasing by 2020, 2030, 2025. First of all, we at CISA, we believe today we are peaking. If not today, that's by 2017 or 2018. We believe we will touch the ceilings in steel production. So this year, that's the production growth rate will be very small compared with before, well below 2% with the figures at hand today. We may expect even minus increase in the coming years. So for scrap generation, we believe maybe by 2018 or even 2020, we'll see the real pickup of scrap generation. Today, there's some voices from the scrap processing industry asking the Chinese government to open the export. But I mean, that's only a voice from some scrap processors. Because in the coming 5 years, I don't believe we will have surplus. In addition, besides, I mean, that's because we have like a very strict emission control law. If the law are strictly reinforced, I believe the scrap use in China will increase. We don't see the real demand, the real from the industry to export scrap. Regarding the currency, there's I don't know. I myself personally is not an economist, but one thing for sure is we will relax the control over the currency before it's only a one-way change. But in future, that's the fluctuation will be bigger. It will be a two-way change. Thank you.
Microphone.
Regarding the iron ore prices, your expectation is a little bit different than the mornings the other people say to us. You are expecting that it will come a little bit lower also. The prices will go a little bit lower also, as far as I understood from your descriptions. What's your expectation in the next 3 months or 6 months' time? And what will be your expected bottom prices for the iron ore suppliers? Maybe you are calculating their costs, maybe, I don't know, since you are buying lots of billions of tons.
Yeah, actually, that's 5 to 6 years ago, that's all CISA officers decided to not make forecasts because we have been making wrong forecasts all the way. So that's, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, that I will only report the facts, and I report the I can give you maybe like a clue or a symbol. Not long ago, that's the Chinese iron ore futures price have been hitting a low point, which can be translated to seaborne iron ore, CFR China, $55 US. But it's not my forecast.
May I ask maybe? Mr. Su, thank you so much for your presentation. Merve Kolsuz, SteelOrbis. Do you think Chinese government will consider new measures to protect local iron ore miners?
New measures?
Which are suffering from decreasing iron ore prices. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe so, because at CISA, we're trying to talk with the government, MOFCOM or MIT, also all the steel mills with captive mines, or the independent mines. They try to persuade the government to give more favorable policies. But you know, it's like a paradox. Chinese policies to not encourage these what we call the three high industries: high pollution, high energy using, high resource using industries. I mean, maybe that's the government will consider to do something, but what they can do is very limited, because they have the main policy orientation is to curb the growth of these high pollution, high resource consuming sectors. But we are working to voice that's for our companies to lower the resource tax. But I don't know when or whether it can be accepted by the government.
I see there are more questions, but I'm afraid we have limited time, so maybe you can forward your questions during the break to Mr. Su. Okay, last one.
So thank you for the nice presentation. If I didn't get it wrong, you said that steel producers in China, they are making less than 1% profit margin. If it is so, I think you should cancel your flight and take some discussions with the Turkish steel producers, okay? And the other one, we couldn't understand what's this tax rebate issue in China. Nobody knows what is it. It's always there. We are discussing tax rebates coming, going, and it will be cancelled or not. But what is this? We don't understand. Thank you very much.
Actually, tax rebate is a wrong word. It's a wrong wording. But give me an email. I can give you like a long explanation. Basically, I talked with Ms. Yayan from the Turkish Association. In China, our practice is different. For most countries, when you export, you don't have to pay the VAT. But in China, we have to pay the VAT. And when you really do the export, you get partly back. That's what we call the rebate. Actually, it's not rebate. It's something like a return. Regarding the low profit rate, actually I have invited Ms. Yayan to come to China to have a longer discussion on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you once again, Mr. Su.